Welcome to Season 2 of the NGO Whisperer Show. My name is Carolyne Opinde. I am the founder of the NGO Whisperer. We are a consulting business that helps nonprofits raise funds so they can successfully impact people's lives. Joining us today is John Winslow. John is joining us from Florida. He is the founder of 141 Water Organization. John is also a former firefighter. John, welcome to the show.
Good morning, Caroline.
It's such a pleasure to have you here today. John, I know that previously in your life, you were a firefighter.
Yes.
You've had many businesses, successful businesses. How did you get into philanthropy? Take us back to when you were a firefighter and how you transitioned into founding 141 Water and what you're doing now.
Sure, absolutely. When I was a firefighter, we had a schedule where I would work one day for 24 hours and then I had 2 days off, which provided me with a lot of time to work on other ventures and that type of thing. So I have a business background. Here in Florida, a very common business is the air conditioning industry. And that's the industry that I was involved in. And I worked in that industry in a lot of different capacities, from everywhere from being an apprentice to being an operations manager. So the air conditioning industry is where I have my business background. The fire department, a lot of people wouldn't really make a connection that the fire department would teach you anything that would be valuable in the business world, but it's actually completely the opposite. In the fire department, one of the things that we rely on very heavily is organizational structure. As an alternate lieutenant, if I pulled up to a house in the middle of the night and that house was on fire, I had to know what additional engines were coming in behind me, and I had to set up the organizational structure for who was going to be my interior attack team, who was going to connect to the hydrant and be my water supply. And you had to do all of that instantly and accurately, or else very bad things could happen. So when you get into the business sector, organizational structure and process and procedure is really going to be the foundation of how you build a scalable business.
Wonderful.
So those are all of the tools in my tool bag that I brought into starting 141 Water.
And tell us what is 141 Water? What do you do?
141 Water, we sell natural spring water in a biodegradable bottle, and then we give 1 liter of clean, sustainable drinking water for every liter that we sell, 1 for 1. And we do that by funding wells and other clean water projects through existing nonprofit organizations.
So what you're saying is with 141 Water, what you have is a business that is selling water, and at the same time, for every 1 liter of water that your customers, the clients buy from you, you give another 1 liter of water to a community that deserves it. How do you do that? Let us
Correct.
Tell us and share with us how you also partner with these organizations.
Sure. Well, we're a startup. So we just launched November 1st of 2019. And on November 1st of 2019, we funded a well in Uganda that provides clean water for 545 people. So we funded the well through Living Water International, which is one of our nonprofit organizations that we partner with. And they drilled the well, but we provided the funding for it. So that well provides clean water for that entire community now, and it has since November 1st.
So you searched for a nonprofit that is doing work similar to what you're doing, providing water to people, but they're doing it through building or digging wells in communities in rural Africa. So myself, yeah. I am Kenyan. So I know Uganda very, very well. And there's so many places in Kenya, in rural Kenya, where people still go to the rivers to collect water. And this is such an important aspect in just normal living, because we know that with clean water, there is health, sanitation, hygiene issues that you are solving. So share with us how you got to partner with Living Water, Living Springs, and how you continue to work with them.
Sure. When I had this idea, originally my thought was to take this business and build my own nonprofit organization and connect them together. And then as I was looking at it, I started to find these amazing nonprofits that were already at work doing this, that were already Living Water International funds wells all over the world, in South America and Asia, Africa, India. Another nonprofit that we partner with is Water Boys, and that is actually made up of NFL players from here in the United States. And they fund really large wells in larger communities. And then we also partner with Village Works, and Village Works provides what's called a bucket filter. And all you do is take a 5-gallon bucket, drill a hole in the bottom of it, screw this filter in, and that filter will provide clean water for a family of 4 for 10 years. So once I started to see that these organizations already existed, I realized there was no need for me to create my own nonprofit. There were already really amazing nonprofits doing the work, and I could just partner with them and fund the work that they were already doing.
Absolutely. That is such a great point for anyone who's wanting to do good. You don't need to always start a nonprofit, because there are already so many nonprofits that exist, and all you have to do, is connect with them and provide the much needed support so they can continue to do the work that they're doing, and for you as a business to continue to run your business as a mission-driven entrepreneur.
Exactly.
So, John, when I first met you virtually, you introduced yourself to me as a mission-driven entrepreneur. Why is this so important to you? And why is it also important in the global entrepreneurial world?
Mm-hmm. In the entrepreneurial world today, there's a lot of talk about finding your why. Starting a business is incredibly demanding. And if you don't have a very clearly defined why, it's very easy for you to kind of give up and say, this is too hard, this is too much work. I don't really, it's not worth it. Mm-hmm. When I had the idea for One Water, I started to realize the impact that we can have as a business. If we get a significant portion of the beverage industry, of the bottled water market in the United States, we can get to a point where we're funding a new well every day. So to me, being mission driven, if this was just starting a bottled water business, I would not have done it. The demands and the pressures of getting into a new industry like the beverage industry, just to put a new brand on the shelf next to all those other bottles of water that are already on the shelf, that would not have been worth it to me. Mm-hmm. When I started to realize that what this business does is we empower compassionate people like you, yes, to have an impact on the global water crisis every day. So if you're walking through the store and you see bottled water and you think, okay, I'm going to grab one of those, now you have a choice that can change someone's life on the other side of the world. And that's my why. If this business didn't have the potential to impact people and change their lives forever, I really wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have launched just any other brand of water to put on the shelf next to all of the other ones. But when I get up in the morning and I start working and things aren't going the way that I planned, I stop and I remember that there are already 545 people whose lives have been changed forever because of this business. And that's the thing that keeps me going. And that's a very powerful why. If you can make that part of your business structure, where you are driven by the people whose lives you're going to impact, that's very motivational. And that's the thing that will keep you going when you have a bad day.
Wonderful, wonderful. And we applaud you for the amazing work that you're doing, not just in the United States, but in other low resource countries such as Uganda. Now, I will take you back to the collaborations that you have already built. Now that you've shared with us your why, I look at the collaborations that you already have with Living Water in Uganda and with the Water Boys with NFL. What impact have you had? I know in Uganda there is a village that is benefiting from clean drinking water right now as we speak,
Right.
from 141 Water, as a gift that you have given back for what you have created through your business. Tell us, what is the impact of that based on stories that you have received from the village in Uganda?
Sure. When I started on this journey a year and a half ago to start this business, I understood the need for clean water on a basis of just for drinking and the waterborne illnesses that are carried in a lot of water sources around the world. I understood that piece of it, and I understood that providing clean water for a community was a good thing to do just for their health, for that piece of it. But as I grew in this, and as I got to learn more about these nonprofit organizations, I started to learn that that well has so many more impacts than just providing clean water. In the third world, usually it's the mother and the daughters that gather the water.
Yes.
And they can spend 6 to 8 hours a day going to the place where they get water, to the river or the spring or the lake where they get water, and bringing that water back. And it's not clean water. It has waterborne illnesses in it at that point. It has bacteria in it. Not only that, but they are subjected to, there are predators along the way as they're traveling, and there are human and animal predators along the way. So they're in extreme danger every day just to go get that water and bring it back for their family. So when that well is drilled in that community, the impact is huge. That mother and those daughters now have 6 hours a day of time that they can invest. The daughter can go to school. The mother can garden or work at home or sew. The sons go to work with their fathers, and now that the mother can work, those sons can go to school. So that well has the power to impact that community in so many ways. There's a quote from the President of the United Nations, and it says, "Clean water and sanitation are the keys to unlocking the chains of poverty in the third world."
Absolutely.
And when I read that, I thought, man, that's really big. I mean, he's putting a lot of weight on that. And then as I started to learn more about it, I realized how accurate that statement is. That well unlocks the chains of poverty for that entire community. Now they can educate their children. Now their children, can get better jobs. Now they can, it changes it economically. It provides safety for the mother and those daughters. It provides a sense of pride for that community, because now they can take care of their families in a way that they couldn't before.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
the well has a lot greater impact than just the simple fact that it provides clean water. And that's huge. Providing the clean water is huge, but the secondary impacts of that well and that clean water blew my mind. I wasn't aware of all of those other impacts that well provides.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And the quote that you've just mentioned, that, providing water is not just for drinking, it's not just for cooking, it's also unlocking the barriers to education, the barriers to economic empowerment, the barriers that have tied the community so much to wasting time, in quotes, wasting time, spending a lot of time just walking back and forth, to utilizing that time. And as you and I both know, that time is a commodity that you cannot manufacture or make. Once you lose it, it's gone. And so we are saving time and energy, things that money cannot buy, and giving back to these women a life of fullness, that they can be proud contributors to the economic empowerment of their communities, provide for their families in ways that they may have never known before.
Yes.
And what really strikes me with the work that you're doing is that you are not just partnering with organizations working in Africa, you're also partnering with Waterboy, with the NFL. Tell us more about this partnership and what you aspire to achieve in the next few months.
Yes. Well, Waterboys has a division where they do work in Africa, and they drill wells that are really large wells. Like some of their wells will produce 10,000 gallons of water a day.
Wow.
So they can take care of a small city with a water supply of that size. One of the things that we want to do is we're a startup, so we're limited on what we can do right now. But one of the things that Waterboys does is they will drill wells here in the United States for a family or a community if they have a contaminated water source. And so I want to make sure that as we grow, we look for additional ways to provide clean water right here at home, because it's easy to picture a lack of clean water in a place like Uganda. But the fact of the matter is there are places right here in the United States, in the United Kingdom, in the first world, where people don't have access to clean water and they don't feel safe drinking the water that comes out of their tap. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the things that that Waterboys does, is alongside their massive organization that has drilled wells in Africa, they're also focusing on ways that we can provide clean water here at home in the first world.
Amazing, amazing. I'm curious to know, how much does it cost to drill a well? Give us a rough estimate based on the well that your team and Living Water dug in Uganda.
Yes. The way that we're set up right now, we have the 3 nonprofits that we work with. We work with Village Works that does the bucket filters. And right. Those are typically for a small community where either it's geographically impossible to get a well drilling rig to that community, or if it's a small community and there are maybe 25 people and it's not cost effective to drill a well in that community, then Village Works is the nonprofit that works in that community and provides the bucket filters. Living Water International, they drill wells that typically provide about 2,000 to 3,000 liters of water a day, which is enough for a community of about 500 people. Some of their wells will provide 5,000 liters of water a day, so they can provide for up to 1,000 people. Those wells typically cost about $10,000 to fund. And then,
so for $10,000, mm-hmm. you, in partnership with the organizations you work with, Living Water International and others, you are able to provide water to a community of about 500 people.
Yes.
And this obviously, it's been recently dug, and we don't know how long it will continue to provide water. But what are the statistics around how long will these people benefit from the water that they're getting in Uganda?
Yeah, that's a great question. One of the reasons that we chose Living Water International is because they've been around for over 20 years.
Wow.
And they almost 100% of their wells that they drilled 20 years ago are still functioning today. So they're very, very intentional about where they drill the well so that they tap into a really good water source. And then once they get into that really good water source, they actually train individuals in the community on how to do maintenance and repairs on that well.
That is a game changer. When
Yes.
you help people by digging a well and giving it to them, handing it over to them, the sense of ownership that comes by training them how to maintain it is just taking it another level. Tell us more about how they do that.
Right. Well, like I said, when that well is drilled, then a team it comes in after the well is drilled, and they train everybody in the community how to wash their hands properly, because sanitation is something that they didn't have the ability to do previously. So they teach them how to handle the water properly so that they don't contaminate the clean water that just came out of the well. And then they pick a team of individuals from within that community and they train them and show them how to do maintenance and how to do repairs on that well. And the wellheads, the pumps that Living Water International uses, were engineered specifically so that they're incredibly durable. I mean, they're very, very difficult to break. And then if they do break, they're very, very simple to do repairs on. So everything that they do is very intentional to make sure that that well is not going to be a short-term solution. The last thing that they want to ever do is provide a well for a community, and then in 2 or 3 years, that well is no longer there, and they have to stop going to school and stop gardening and start making that 6-hour trek to get water every day again. But that is something they're really, really intentional about, is making sure that those people never have to go back to that life that they had before the well was drilled. When Living Water International was in Uganda drilling that well, one of their representatives sent me a picture, and it was a newborn baby, and there was a girl holding a bottle of our water in her hand and her newborn baby in the other hand.
Wow.
And the message that she sent me said that this generation will never know a lack of clean water in their village.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen to that.
Yeah. So that baby will never know the struggles that their mother knew when they were a child, because that well has changed that community forever. And we want to make sure these were all the factors when I was choosing the nonprofit organizations. These were all the factors, was that they provided the wells in a way that encouraged the people and gave them ownership of it, and that those wells were going to be around in 20 years so that community never had to go back to the life they had before.
John, that is very, very interesting and well done for impacting generations. I was moved by the story of the woman who was holding the bottle of water and the child and saying that this generation, pointing at her child and saying this generation will never know the problems of having clean drinking water in the community of Bihaga in Uganda. What a moving story. What an impact you're having, not just to the people who are there right now, but to future generations. We've talked about the price of digging a well, but I also know that you work with another nonprofit that provides a bucket filter.
Yes.
How much does that cost, and how can people contribute towards that if they want to?
Absolutely. Village Works is the nonprofit that we work with that provides the bucket filters. And I talked about it a little bit before, but there are communities that are too difficult to get to, and you couldn't physically get a well drilling rig to this community to drill a well. Or if you have a smaller community, say of 20 or 30 people, it's not cost effective to get the well drilling rig to them and drill the well for a community that's that small. And because Village Works deals with those smaller villages, they were a great choice for us for having some kind of an impact in a situation like that. So the filters that Village Works provides, they cost $30, and that filter provides clean water for a family of 4 for 10 years. So it's an incredibly cost-effective way for somebody to have an impact. It's something that you could do as a family. You can go to Village Works website and you can fund one of those filters for $30 and know that, every time your family sits down to dinner and has clean water at their table, that there's another family on the other side of the world that has clean water because your family funded one of those filters. So they're an amazing organization, and having them as a solution in the smaller communities was really important to us.
For $30, you can make a difference in the lives of a community or a family that cannot get tap water, by them having a water filter and getting the water from the river, putting it in the water filter that lasts for over 10 years. Did you say that?
Yeah, yeah, that filter lasts for 10 years.
10
Every
years.
day, when VillageWorks comes into a community, they provide the filters for the family, and then they have training with them, and they teach them how to use that filter. So they put the water in the bucket, and it goes through the filter, and now that goes into a clean bucket, and that's now clean water for them. And then at the end of the day, all they have to do is back flush that filter to get the contamination out of it, and it's ready to go the next day. And that can be done every day for 10 years. And like I said, that filter costs $30. So we actually partner with VillageWorks when it comes to our promotional items like our hats and shirts. And we'll provide a link so that you can go to the website and look at the shirts that we have available. But this hat with the logo on it, a lot of people will wear a hat like this because they love the brand and they love what we do. But when you go on the website and you buy one of these hats, we fund filters through VillageWorks. So this hat provides clean water for an individual for 1 year.
Now, to take us back, what does the future look like for one water, and what message do you have to other entrepreneurs?
Sure. Well, when the whole idea for one water is to scale it into a national brand. Here in the United States, we have several brands that people would recognize that are big beverage. They're associated with some of the big beverage companies that are already out there. And to break into the beverage industry, it takes a lot of energy and a lot of money and a lot of time and effort to do that. But the whole point of One for One Water is to get us to the point where we are funding a well every day. And then we'll be able to look at the impact that we have. And even if they were small wells and they were impacting 500 people, that's a significant impact every year. And each of these are new wells that's being drilled. And so we don't count the production of the wells that we drilled last year. So if we sell 1 million liters of water next year, we don't count the wells that we drilled this year. We drill new wells every year to match the amount of water that we sell every year. So to me, there's a very real chance for us to have a significant impact on the global water crisis. I think that because of the way American consumers are, I've made sure that One for One Water was a product that could stand on its own. The bottle is a biodegradable bottle. So a normal plastic bottle, if it winds up in a landfill, takes 450 years to decompose. This bottle decomposes in a landfill in 4 years. So I wanted to make sure we had a good, really good packaging. And I looked at everything. I looked at glass, I looked at paper, I looked at aluminum, and this biodegradable biopolymer bottle was by far the best solution that I could find. The water that is in this is naturally alkaline spring water, which is what our bodies were made to drink in the first place. When you drink tap water, it's not alkaline, it's typically acidic, and that's really bad for your body. Mm-hmm. And then if you find this in a store, it's going to be comparably priced to any of the other natural spring waters that are on the shelf. This bottle in the United States sells for about $2.49. And that's going to be competitive with any other natural spring water that's on the shelf.
So that is $2.49, right?
Yes. Yes. So usually $2.49, $2.69. It kind of depends if you're in a grocery store or a convenience store. Those prices can vary a little bit, but it's always going to be right in the same price range as the other products. And then having the mission behind it, I wanted to make sure that people were not buying the product simply because of the mission. I wanted to make a product that you would buy anyhow and then attach the mission to it. So because of the way that we built One for One Water, we've got a great product, we've got great packaging, we have a great price, and we have a great purpose. So wonderful. I wanted to make sure that we had those 4 columns to stand on so that we were a very strong product no matter how you looked at us. So that's the future for One Water and how it was built, what our goals were. And then you asked me to talk about what other entrepreneurs can be doing to be mission driven in their businesses.
Yes.
And yeah, and a lot of people think that, that they're going to start a business, and then once that business gets big and becomes profitable, then they can start to do good. And that's great. Once your business is profitable and you want to donate a portion to nonprofit organizations, that's absolutely great. But there's a piece of that that gets missed, and that is, if you want to start a small business, like here in Florida, there are a lot of lawn businesses, and it's a pretty easy business to get into because all you need is a lawnmower and a weed eater, and boom, you have a lawn business. And if you're thinking, well, I want to start a business, but it's a small business, how can I have an impact on a global scale? Well, maybe you impact one person. Maybe when you start your lawn business, you say, I'm going to hire combat wounded veterans, or I'm going to hire single moms, or I'm going to hire, every community has a group of people that are being underserved in that community. And there's a way that you can provide an opportunity for them. You don't necessarily have to give them a donation. Maybe the best thing that you can give them is an opportunity and create a job for them. And that's as we scale and we get to a point where we have a call center and we have a corporate headquarters and things like that. As we scale, part of our business plan is that call center, if there are 10 people sitting in that call center answering and doing customer service when our customers call in, 2 of those people, so 20% of our workforce, is going to be people that we're bringing in and we're training and teaching them how to use the phone and how to use the computer and how to be professional on the phone. And then once they get to that point where after 3 to 6 months where they are trained and they're professionals, now we can put them into the workforce, and those 2 chairs are open, and we can hire 2 new people, and we can constantly be training people and putting them into the workforce and creating opportunities for them. So no matter who you are, no matter what your business is, if you stop and you just look at it and you say, who in my community is underserved? Who in my community could use an opportunity? You don't have to wait until you're a big corporation that can write a big check. You can create opportunities and probably have a lot more significant impact right from the very beginning.
Wonderful, wonderful. What a lovely, lovely way to end this episode. You do not have to wait until you are a large corporation. If you are a mission-driven entrepreneur, you can begin to make a difference right from the start. A good example has been set by John Winslow and his team at 1-for-1 Water, where they are impacting not just lives, but generations by providing them with clean drinking water through partnerships with existing nonprofits that are operating all over the world. John, it's been such a pleasure to have you on our show today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Caroline, and thank you for what you do with highlighting these nonprofit organizations and helping them get the message out about what they're doing.
All our viewers out there, we invite you to subscribe, like, comment, and share to watch more shows like this. It's been an honor. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, everyone. Remember, it's all about connecting people, raising funds, and impacting lives.